the Chiefs can do is beat you with the run and beat you with the option. We have shown that our linebackers and our defensive line, they can stop the run. Yeah, they're going to give up maybe 2 plays a game of a big break open run. But with the exception of the Atlanta Falcon game, it really hasn't happened very often. We've been pretty stout, especially when we've had Tyler Davison healthy. And Cameron Jordan has been stellar against the run. Nick Fairley's been adequate. We've already talked several times about Craig Robertson and how good he has looked against the run. So then it gets down to, do we trust guys like, Sterling Moore and B.W. Webb to cover Jeremy Maclin, who is, to me, never been a number one type of wide receiver, yet he's been asked to play that up over in Kansas City. And they got Travis Kelce. And I would put more of a Kenny Vaccaro on him. But in their top 3 receivers, Spencer Ware is number 3 right now in terms of yards. They're running back. They don't even have we're kind of spoiled because we have multiple players over 200 and 250 yards. But Spencer Ware, Kelce, Maclin, that's really all they have. They don't really have anybody else up there in Kansas City in terms of receiving, and they haven't been a pass-catching team in quite some time. So if there is a game that we have the advantage and hopefully where the defense can come out and play stout, it is against Kansas City. The only problem is it's an away game, and we both know that this team is different when they are not in the dome. Win, lose, draw, even if the Saints lose 10 games in a row in the dome, it doesn't change the fact that they're better in the dome. It's just true. They score more points in the dome. They typically have more turnovers in the dome. They typically have more sacks in the dome. Even if they lose more, they're generally better. So, which team are we going to get in Kansas City? Are they going to come out, play stout run defense, and Drew Brees manages to play time of possession, maybe only throws 250 yards, but Ingram and Lasco and Cadet are all out there and shining for us? Or are we going to get the whole, let's just try to run and gun and shove it down their throat, throw for 400 yards, and hopefully not throw 3 interceptions while we're at it?
I would hope that Mark Ingram is a factor. And, I've consistently said this about, Mark Ingram being used. But I will say this, it's kind of what you alluded to moments earlier. It's the fact that if there's a game in which the Saints can actually benefit from their opponent, outside of just saying that it's going to be a road game and it's a very tough venue, it's the Kansas City Chiefs game because of what, some of the things that you've named. Their passing attack, not very potent, especially when the idea that Kansas City went almost the entire season last year, I believe, without even allowing a wide receiver to catch a touchdown. Meaning that if you can defend their tight end, which is something the Saints have had a problem with, but if you can defend their tight end, you have your chances. If you can stop the run, which is, the only game in which I've seen the Saints this year being unable to stop the run was against Atlanta, and it just so happens that's the exact same game that Tyler Davison and Kenny Vaccaro missed. So those are, 2 things that actually, play into the Saints' favor that those guys will be here. But I think that the idea of it all is that if the Saints can jump out to a lead, I don't know if Kansas City can come back. Now, again, I've been wanting to say that the Saints have to make this a sort of an ugly game. You can't try to win, another 38, 30, 37 type of shootout. You can't win a game like that in Kansas City. You're going to have to win this game, close out, maybe, 26 to 24 type of win. And, hey, whatever works is what happens. That's what you need to do. But it's going to come down, to me, to the Saints' defense, which is, can they create turnovers? If they can create a turnover too and give the Saints an extra possession, even if it results into a field goal, I think the Saints have a very good chance to win an Arrowhead because I'm looking at the Kansas City, the schedule. I'm looking at the teams that they've actually had some success against. And, outside of the fact that even the New Orleans Saints on the defensive end, outside of the San Diego game in which they basically just were gifted a win, when they played the New York Giants on the road, the Saints defense actually seemed like they played better on the road than they did at home. And the San Diego game, I actually don't fault the defense. I fault coaching on that one because it seems as if Dennis Allen had his head stuck up his butt, as you mentioned earlier, with the zone and Tampa 2 coverage. You don't have the horses to run that system, but when they're playing more man and press coverage, they seem to play a little bit better.
I understand why they want to throw in zone. You have to do zone. You can't just run straight man. I get that, but Let me throw this out there because you mentioned having the fast start, and Nick Underhill asked for this stat on Sunday, and I looked it up for him. In terms of starting possessions this year, including Carolina, the New Orleans Saints' very first drive has started out of the 5 drives, 3 touchdowns, only 1 punt, and 1 fumble. That was a turnover. So in terms of vast majority, start off quick and strong. It's the second drive where they really start to falter and fall off, though. Listen to this. Second drive, 1 field goal, 4 punts, and of those 4 punts, 3 were 3 and outs. So starting off fast, they've been able to do it for 1 drive. Those like 15 pre-scripted plays we always talk about Sean Payton liked to do. But they've never been able to sustain it this year. And that is a huge issue. Yeah, sure, they get up by a touchdown against Kansas City, but then what if the next 2 or 3 drives they stall out? Now, I'm with you, man. If they can score 14 points out of the gate, something like that, they just start pounding it. Kansas City's not built to get into a shootout. They're built to run it down your throat, beat you with the dink and dunk, and let you make mistakes. But if the Saints come out not making those mistakes, yeah, it's an easy win. But the team has shown this year that they've yet to been able to put together a complete game, a full 60-minute game on either side of the ball. So,
yeah, this is going to be a tough one, and for me, I'm going to hold fast to the idea that I think Sean Payton has a plan in place for this Kansas City team, and I don't think Andy Reid has an answer for it. And it's not because Andy Reid isn't a good coach. I just don't think he has the personnel group. The Saints are soft in areas that Andy Reid can't take advantage of because of the type of team that he has. And yes, I know they beat Oakland, and Oakland has a pretty good offense, but make no mistake about it, Derek Carr is going to be good, but he's not Drew Brees yet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's not that level yet. And Drew Brees can take advantage of the things that Derek Carr can't. So I think that's going to be something that's very important when it comes to the matchup versus Kansas City. Personally, I think, the closer it gets to Nick Fairley being able to see that $250,000 bonus, the harder he's going to play. And I think this Kansas City offensive line allows a chance for Nick Fairley to eat. I know, Onyemata has been getting some snaps as well to kind of spare him. But I want to kind of, revisit something that we talked about a moment ago. I want to get your thoughts on it. And it's the idea that I believe that Sheldon Rankins coming back is going to have a little bit more of an impact than Delvin Breaux. And I know you disagree with me on that, so I definitely want to get that out here because I'm pretty sure people that listen to the show think we agree on everything, and we don't. So I want to make sure we get that out there. But my reason for saying that I think Sheldon Rankins will have a bigger impact. And I know where you're going to go with it when it comes to Delvin Breaux and the fact that Nick Fairley has been doing really well and had rotation up front. But I think the idea of it all is that Nick Fairley is going to play phenomenal, and he will, especially with an incentive-laden contract like he has. But I think for Sheldon Rankins to return and that inside pressure, he gives the team something that I don't think Tyler Davison can, and that's another pass rusher right up the gut. And any quarterback will tell you the worst thing that you can do is collapse the pocket from the middle because they have nowhere to step up. And if that's the case, then, we've seen what the Saints have been able to do with the corners that they have. Sterling Moore, B.W. Webb, and even Ken Crowley. These guys are in position. They're not making the plays that they need to make, like a Delvin Breaux would. But as you stated yourself, he's going to struggle coming back because he hasn't learned how to play, alongside those guys yet. I think Sheldon Rankins just the immediate impact, maybe long-term, not maybe, definitely long-term, Breaux will be the more solid, addition of who's coming back from injury. Mm-hmm. But I think immediate impact, I think Rankins is going to do it just that, especially because he can play in the rotation and keep fresh and just provide consistent pressure up the middle along with Nick Fairley instead of playing those guys one at one time and one at another. You play those two guys together and you get that double A gap pressure going. It could be a long day for quarterbacks that they'll be facing.
Well, here's why I disagree with you. It simply comes down to the fact that I think that Breaux will have more opportunity because he'll have more snaps and more playing time because Sheldon Rankins and Nick Fairley are identical types of players. They are both 3-tech defensive tackles. They are somewhat smaller compared to like a Vince Wilfork. They rush the passer. That is their strength. And for you to put both of them on the field at any given time, that means you're going to have to take a Tyler Davison type, a run stopper out, which weakens the team. And I don't think that they're going to do that. So I think they're going to leave Davison in, and then maybe on like third down or pure passing play opportunities, then they'll put in both of them. But we're talking maybe 20 snaps a game max where you might see both of them together. And you definitely can't pull out the hot hand while it's hot. Now, if Nick Fairley started to slump off the next 2 or 3 games by the time Rankins is back, maybe you have the argument we start splitting time. But how Rankins is playing right now, you would be stupid. There's no other word for it. You'd be stupid to pull that guy for any amount of play at all because he's hot. The guy's on pace for double-digit sacks. He's just playing phenomenal. You don't pull him. So simply for that reason alone, I don't think Rankins is going to have the opportunity to shine as brightly as Bro. Doesn't mean he can't. But there just isn't a lot of room for him right now because of how Fairley's playing. And in the Saints' defense and even Rankins' defense, nobody expected Fairley to come in and do this well because he's playing at a starter level, strong defensive tackle, 3-tech, getting after the quarterback. Nobody expected him to be this good. We wanted him to be a serviceable, quality role player. And he's given us so much more, and we can't complain. But you also can't punish him either. I mean, you can't just put in the rookie who's unproven when you have a guy right now dominating his position. And because of that, Davison, I don't think Sheldon Rankins has the run-stopping ability to justify pulling Davison out. So how many snaps are you going to give the rookie, and where are you going to fit him? You can really only fit him maybe 15, 20, 25 plays out of, say, 70, maybe 60, or depending on what game you're looking at this year, the Saints have actually been on defense for 80 plays. So there's just not a lot of room for him.
And I totally understand why you're going that way with it. I do. I just think that this is one of those situations that the Saints are going to – they're gonna basically – if you're a wrestling fan, you'll know exactly what I mean by this. For those out there that are listening and that are wrestling fans, they're going to Vince McMahon this thing, which means that they're going to shove this down your throat until you like it. And for those who follow wrestling, you know right about now you're probably sick of Roman Reigns. But it doesn't matter because Vince is going to continually push him as a main event guy until you start to do one or two things. Either you turn a channel, and if you're a true fan, you won't turn a channel, or you're just going to say to hell with it and start liking Roman Reigns. That's exactly what I think the Saints are going to do this situation. Yes, I understand that, to take Tyler Davison out when he's a run stuffer is one of those things to where you're like, you know what, that may not be the best idea. But I think, once he's proven he's healthy, I think they're going to shove Sheldon Rankins and Nick Fairley, the package, down your throat until you like it. And then they're gonna build it around the idea that we want pass rush. And that's going to be the key word, pass rush, pass rush, pass rush. Because Sean Payton is going to come out and tell you after the game, well, most teams we play mostly nickel anyway because most teams are playing, 3 wide and here that. He's going to make a reason for you to understand that this is what we're doing. We're not going to change it. And he's basically going to answer it the same way he answered the question about Laurinaitis. When somebody asked him why was he on the bench, he answered it simply because we felt like it. And that's exactly what he's going to do to Sheldon Rankins thing. He's going to consistently say, we're going to play these two guys together. That was the plan all along. We're going to play Nick alongside of Sheldon, and we're going to get as much pass rush as possible. In the run game, they're going to tell you Sheldon Rankins can play the run equally as well as he can play the pass. Mm-hmm. That's how they'll justify it, and that's what I see coming. If it doesn't happen and everything works out well the way he's a rotational guy and it's still the same pass rush, great. But I think they're going to try to slam this one down our throats until we just like, you know what? Okay, coach, whatever you say.
Yeah, and they definitely could try that. I just don't think it'd be very smart. I think it would. I think it would hinder the team. Now, if you use the argument that you give him experience and maybe because by the time he gets back, we're expecting him back right around week 8, if I remember right, how the IR rules work. So maybe we lose those 2 games if we're sitting at 2-5. And we saw that when Coach thought that the team didn't have a big shot at getting to the playoffs or going further, he's put people on IR or played more rookies in certain positions to give them more playing time. That comes around, okay, I'm more along the lines. But I don't want to make the team worse for the slight potential something amazing happens on one play. I mean, yeah, maybe because they line up, all the stars align, and you get an extra 2 sacks in a game. But are those